Hi, traveling is fun. But you know what's not fun? Getting sick or hurt while traveling. As we embark to research on our slow travel lifestyle, one of the big questions that we ask ourselves and from other people is, what happens if when we're overseas and abroad and we get sick or injured?
In this video, we're going to talk about how we've been exploring travel medical insurance and how we're coming to a decision on how to be covered when we're launching our nomadic lifestyle.
Ready? Let's go.
Let's go.
Hi, and welcome to the Adventures of Dave
and Nikki.
We are a retired couple in our 50s, traveling the world slowly and a budget of $5,000 a month. And thank you for coming with us. Medical insurance. No one likes to talk about it, but it is a necessary component in our lives because we just cannot predict what happened. At home in the US, we have our coverage and it is what it is. But when we are set to launch in our slow travel nomadic lifestyle, we discovered that there is a whole different world out there of coverage and products.
Yeah, one of the first questions we had about traveling extensively or for longer periods is, well, what happens if we get sick? What happens if we get big sick, like a heart attack, and end up in the hospital? How are we going to get that covered? Are we going to be able to find great medical care? And after traveling for a while, we're not worried about finding excellent care elsewhere in the world. And after hearing so many other traveler stories, we know there's excellent care out there. But here in the US, we're used to paying a heck of a lot for medical care. We have at times paid a lot for our premiums, and that's with a high deductible here in the US. So one of the first things when we decided, we're going to do this nomadic thing about almost a year ago, I started looking into medical insurance for nomads or traveling medical insurance. There's different levels, and it was overwhelming. It was just overwhelming. There were so many choices and so much information. And if you're just looking on your own, there's a lot of websites out there that just want to collect your information before they give you a quote. And that was very frustrating.
Yeah, thankfully, Nikki was the one. She's always been the one that handles our medical insurance, even for the past decades. And kind of by default, she took the reins and went down the rabbit hole doing a lot of research on this. And I can tell with many conversations where there's so many products out there for so many different needs and people that it can totally get overwhelming, right?
It was overwhelming. And we didn't want to purchase more insurance than we actually need. We've heard from other nomads that they never actually go up to their deductible when they're out traveling because the cost of healthcare is so much less than it is in the United States. So we wanted to keep our premiums at a minimum, but I was too overwhelmed and I decided to contact an agent to help.
Right. So we've been following a lot of different YouTubers on slow travel, and one of our favorites is Warren and Julie Travel. They have an amazing YouTube channel as well as a website. I'll link to other stuff below. And he speaks a lot about travel health insurance on his channel. And he's also a certified agent with a lot of different insurance companies. And he encouraged us to reach out to him. So Nikki did. And before we start anything else, this video is not sponsored by any kind of insurance company. It is merely our own experience and our journey of how we finally decided on what to go with.
Right. So I contacted Warren, and he does say as a caveat, he is retired. So give him a little time to get back. But I contacted him through his website, and there's a link on the website that you can explore some products yourself. You can go in there, you can get a quote, you can read the brochures, you can even read a sample contract so you can get a taste of products that he likes as a nomadic person and an insurance person before you can narrow it down. So I wrote to him and said, hey, I really need to narrow this down. Told him our ages. We don't really have any prior health conditions other than taking hormone replacement. So if you want to consider menopause a condition, some people do. I don't, so that might not be covered. But otherwise, we're pretty healthy. And Dave and I are counting on that we're healthy, that we're active, that we're not on any other medications to keep our premiums at a minimum and to not go to the doctor that much. That being said, there could always be some sort of accident or something big, a heart attack or a stroke where you need to be hospitalized for a long time. So we didn't want to self-insure. That's where you just save your money up for when you need to go to the doctor.
Right.
We wanted to be careful just in case something really big happened. We didn't want it to really drain our resources.
So our prime directive and our approach in this is this. We've been traveling for a while now, and we've had, a series of incidents where we need to go to the pharmacies overseas. And from talking to other people, we realized that for the small things, the colds, the infections, the minor injuries, is much more cost effective to just simply pay cash out of our pocket instead of having a large policy that covers that stuff. So our approach is simply to get coverage for the massive catastrophic incidents, a big accident, a heart attack, and anything big. So that's our approach. And when Warren replied to us, we narrowed it down to 3 different companies. Now, Nikki did all the legwork and created a shared Google sheet between her and I, where it detailed out some of the commonalities between the 3 providers. I still found it was really a challenge to compare apples to apples because the dictions is different, the documents have information in different spots, the websites work differently. So what we did was we leveraged the power of AI and using ChatGPT to really help us zero in and hone in on one of our decisions. I'm going to show you how we did that.
So the 3 products that we narrowed it down to were Genki Traveler. I'm not sure if it's Genki or Genki. Genki Traveler, IMG Patriot Light, or Safety Wing Essentials. The main things we were keeping in mind were keeping our premiums low, but still having coverage for doctors, medical emergencies, the preventative care we can cover ourselves, and Medevac. For instance, if I have some major incident on an island somewhere and that island's hospital doesn't have the facilities to treat what's going on, I want to be covered for the helicopter or something to transport me to the nearest hospital, not medevac me home to the U.S., but just transport me to somewhere where there's more appropriate care.
Right. Another component that's valuable to us is something called telehealth. Do you want to talk about that, sweetie?
Yes. I find it very helpful just to talk to a physician on the phone or on a video conference without actually going in. A lot of times, whether I'm traveling or home, my question is, do I need to see a doctor about this? Should I go in, or can we just talk to someone over the phone? It just makes it so much easier that you have someone you can talk to about your symptoms. Maybe they can recommend just something over the counter, or maybe they can even prescribe for you.
Right. And we can, after a quick chat online with a certified doctor, we can just walk down the street to a local pharmacy and get that stuff done, if that is what the doctor has prescribed. With all the overwhelming information, I leverage the power of ChatGPT to help us narrow down what we really want. And my favorite part about it is the ability to ask exact questions and follow-up questions. If I go to Google and just ask a very specific question, I'll be digging around web pages for hours, and I'll try that, and I still can't find what I need, and I get frustrated. So what we did is we went to Warren's site, and he has direct links to go to these 3 providers that we're interested in: Safety Wing, Genki, and IMG Global. We went to each of the 3 providers. We downloaded the product that we want, the brochures of that. And on some of them, if it's available, we downloaded a sample contract. The sample contract is like a generic contract, but what we would sign if we go with that provider, but it has a watermark on it, and it's just to like a John Doe type situation. But it does have all the diction of all the legalese of what this policy is all about. So basically, I went to all 3 places and grabbed as much documentation written as I can. They're usually very easy to find and downloadable into PDF format. Next, I went into ChatGPT and I told it our situation. Our age, who we are, what we're trying to accomplish. And I told it that I'm gonna upload to you a bunch of docs. I wanted to digest it, and when it's ready, I want it to answer my very specific questions. So the first thing I asked was, I wanted to compare in a very organized table features so I can compare apples to apples of all 3 policies. And it was able to go through all the documents and just give me this wonderful table of what I need. Some of the things that's really important to us are deductibles, coverage in the USA, if any, medevac limits like we talked about, renewability of each policy because they do differ and it does matter, and any age restrictions. Because some of them, you get a certain age and you age out of the policy window, right?
Or the price drastically increases over 55 and especially over 60. So looking at the output and comparison from ChatGPT, the nice neat tables it gave us, some of the things that popped out or surprised me were for Genki Traveler, the deductible was 50 euros per case, per outpatient case. And from what I understand from other world travelers, you barely even spend that much going to a doctor for something routine. So I thought we might be overspending for that. Safety Wing, what surprised me was that the prices really go up after age 60. A lot of people rave about Safety Wing and it sounds great. I think it's really good for younger people. Yeah. And then the IMG Patriot Light, it's called. I like that one. Well, it surprised me on that one that you can add a teledoc rider, and it was only adding another $90 a year. You can add that option on, and then when you contact the teledoc, it's not any charge for you. And I played around with the ages on it, and I said, well, we're 60, we're going to be 60 and 58 when we start. But I said, well, what happens when we're 64 and 62? The price barely went up. So that surprised me a ton. That was really good. So what was our final decision?
Drum roll. So after really using ChatGPT and having a lot of internal discussion between Nikki and I, we finally decided to go with IMG Patriot Light. We're going to go with a max coverage of $1 million, which is their maximum of what they offer. And we're going to go with an annual deductible of $100. And we figured that out by looking at the premiums with 0 deductible versus $100 deductible. And you can make up that difference in about 4 months. So we're going to pay out of pocket, if we go down to, if we see go down to the pharmacy and buy some meds, we have a cold or something like that, we just contact IMG. They have an amazing online portal that we can submit claims and contact and communicate with them with. And let them know and see what if once we spend up to $100 for a year, which hopefully we won't need to, but it's not really that much. The policy kicks in and is up to $1 million, and they have great medevac. We don't age out of it.
We plan to have the coverage until we're 65 and then start looking at Medicare.
Right.
But I did like the option to choose from a range of coverage amounts and a range of deductibles to make the premiums come out the way you like. And then we did add the Teladoc Health to make it just right for us with the premium that we're comfortable with, which is going to be less than $300 a month. So when we're ready to pull the trigger, we're going to do it through Warren. So he will get his commission because he did help us a bit. And
very much so.
I am shooting him some more questions back and forth. The Patriot Light comes with 2 weeks of emergency coverage when you get back in the U.S. And after that, we need to find, if we're visiting here for longer, we'll need to find something else. And that's a story for another time for temporary coverage in the U.S.
Yeah, because our plan is to be back in the United States probably 2 months out of every 12. And most of these travel medical insurance, they're not really built for coverage back in the States long term. Definitely not for a month or two. So we're going to be going down this rabbit hole again with you as we research and decide on what to do during those tiny couple months periods when we're back in the States. And just another big shout out to Warren for helping us with this decision, just giving us the information and confidence to get this stuff done. So if you're a similar boat as us and you think of embarking on a slow travel life, medical insurance is definitely a need. Here are a few things that you might want to think about. Obviously, your age and what kind of coverage you want to determine your premiums. Any kind of like evacuation needs. The world can be full of turmoil and you just don't know what's happening. And that part is important to us.
And we just want to emphasize that we're choosing what's right for us and what we're comfortable with. Everybody's going to be a little different. Some people really they don't mind paying more to get that additional coverage or more services and get more coverage while in the U.S. too.
And I want to encourage you to use AI tools like ChatGPT to just make your life easier. I cannot believe how helpful it was for us to ask very direct, specific questions to compare the different policies. So give that a try. We would love to hear some of your thoughts. I mean, whether you're just starting out or you are a vet of slow travel.
And of course, whatever we choose when we do start to use it, we are going to take you along for the ride and show you how our experience went with the claims and getting the care we need.
Right. So thank you for watching this, and please like and subscribe. We have a lot more content and stories coming your way as we launch into this lifestyle. Mm-hmm. If you want to know more about us and our backstory, check out a couple of these videos up top here. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.